Mamma mia, tell me so.
Good evening. My name is Susan, and I am an acolyte of Sherlock Holmes. And today we have endeavored to address his mighty case of versus the exsanguinate count, the sanguineous count, or something, or whatever. Anyway, it's a story written by John Watson and discovered posthumously by Miss Ellsworth. And so, yeah, so we have a great cast, and with me are a great cast to cast this podcast. Um, and this is for Geeks Assembled, and it's called Audio Heads. And with me, I have Lee and Craig, and I'd like to find out what they thought of Sherlock Holmes versus Dracula, the BBC production of Beauty and Marriage. Start with Craig.
Okay, so the year is 1890. It's August, and the Demeter, which is like a schooner, is discovered off the English coast near the famous northern town of Whitby Harbour. I think it's up north.
Oh yes.
It's not Ireland, it's just north, isn't it?
It's about, I don't know, 40, 50 mile away from me.
And I'm sure they film the bay there, don't they? Because my mum keeps saying she wants to go to Whitby for a holiday. The crew's missing. Its murdered captain lashed to the wheel, and its only passenger is a sinister black dog. This is definitely a case for Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Who he was approached by the Whitby editor to take up the case. And I love the title of this, the oh god, it was the sanguinated something or other. Now the only
The sanguinated count.
That's it. The only time I've heard of this is in Line of Duty when someone gets their throat cut. So it was just a nice, intelligent and quirky title. So yeah, I thought this was a really lovely play. And I love the fact that it was made in 1981. And obviously it has a massive cast. It's got Timothy West, David March, John Moffat, who played Sherlock Holmes, Michael Maloney, Catherine Parr, Noel Howlett, and obviously Nicholas Courtney, the Brigadier. So yeah, my opening thoughts were it was a really lovely play.
Glad you thought so. Let's go over to Lee. What are your opening thoughts?
Well, this was based on the 1977-78 novel by Lauren D. Estelman. I don't know if that's an anagram for anything. I don't know, but it could be the real name. I don't know. I like the way this, because I've never heard this before, so I'm thinking Sherlock Holmes versus Dracula. Yeah, it's good. It's a good same sort of time period. How they're going to do it, and they do it so well. The way they get the shoehorn Holmes and Watson into this well-known story of Dracula, of Bram Stoker's Dracula. As Craig mentioned, you know, the schooner going into Whitby was all in Dracula. But as I said, they shoehorn these characters into it, but they don't really interfere with Bram Stoker's story. That's still there happening in the background, because we don't see any of that. We just see the side of Holmes and what Holmes and Watson sees on what they're investigating, which I think is quite a good way of doing it. So, I mean, they don't destroy the Count. They don't kill the Count, because Van Helsing and his group of people do that in the Dracula story. But it's like the way that they get these characters sort of involved and entwined with each other in this little tale, and it is a good tale. It's what is it, a 1 hour and 30-minute, 90-minute story?
Yeah.
It didn't drag. It flew by. Once you get into the story, and you do feel like you are listening to a proper Sherlock Holmes.
Quite.
I mean, John Moffat, who plays Sherlock Holmes in this, was well known for doing loads of radio drama. Most famous for playing Hercule Poirot on radio, but he does a damn good Sherlock Holmes. I was sat listening there. Do you know what? I was thinking he's channeling Basil Rathbone from the grave. His voice was just so much like Basil Rathbone. You know, one of the
Yeah, I'd agree as well.
Yeah.
When did Basil Rathbone die?
Oh, 1960s,
All right, no, all right,
70s.
The father of Basil Brush.
Yeah, but this as Craig said, this was produced and dramatised in 1981 on Radio 4, and it's had many repeats on British radio, and you can see why it's such an enjoyable story.
It's got its own like little cult following going on with these. There's a what do you call it, role-playing game, graphic novels, all sorts of things, comic book series from it. It was quite interesting I watched a couple on YouTube who have little characters, and you can get the little Sherlock Holmes character, and then you get like a little medallion that represents Dr. Watson as well. If you're into D&D and things like that.
There you
Cool.
go. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I enjoyed it from beginning to end. As I said before we started recording, I didn't know who was in the cast. Well, I knew John Moffat was playing Sherlock Holmes, but when certain voices cropped up in this audio, I thought, someone will be quite happy, won't they, Susan? And it's already been mentioned, of course, Nicholas Courtney. But playing Lestrade, Inspector Lestrade of the Yard.
Yeah.
Who else could play him, really? Because he had such an authoritative voice. It was brilliantly done, but gone too soon though. He was underused, I think, in this. But, that's my opening thoughts anyway. Back to you, Susan.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, there's been a bit of revelation about Nicholas Courtney being in this, and it sends me googly-eyed. It drives me into super woo-wee places. Okay, it's we visited Whitby in Washington State on the west coast of the Americas and near Canada, and so I had that in my mind the whole time, sort of murky, sort of rainforesty. But I don't know if that's actually the way Whitby is in the UK, but it's the Russian schooner, the Demeter, it just followed the story that, and Sherlock Holmes and Watson being sassy about Bram Stoker, or Watson being sassy about Bram Stoker, about him getting everything wrong except leaving out all of Sherlock Holmes and Watson's involvement in the story and just pushing them aside. That was funny. Also referenced was Jack the Ripper from 2 years prior. So, really hitting all the big money there. Those 1890s, hot points. And then a wink and a nod to the seamen. I thought that was funny. And then the blue fur lady, stealing babies, stealing children, drinking their blood. That was a little different than the Bram Stoker, but it was good. It was a good addition. And then came Lestrade, and I was over the moon, quite literally over the moon. He does have an authoritative voice, and he does have perfect received pronunciation. And whereas Holmes sounded super intellectual, that the Lestrade voice was rich and powerful, and a bit like a strong cup of coffee. It was that, and it really wakes you up, and it was a good counterpoint to the dynamic duo of Holmes and Watson. And so, yeah, it was great. It did shoehorn everything in, and that was quite a little bit of editorial expansion. And I've never seen the comic book or the graphic novel, but I did find this funny image here of the two. And I loved all the references to Baker Street, which, for a Holmes fan, that is always like, cool. And then, what's her name? Mrs. Hudson was, where was she? Let me see. Oh, Mrs. Barton, sorry.
She was the next door neighbor of the Watsons, wasn't she?
Yeah, Catherine Parr.
Yeah.
They didn't have Mrs. Hudson. They had Mrs. Barton, and that was Catherine Parr. And also Mr. Caffin, played by Noel Howlett. He was really great. And what's your favorite moments, Craig?
I think I like it. It was great fun. I quite liked from the impalement of the Bloofer lady. Quite like the abduction of Watson's wife. And even the prostitute's death was quite good as well, that scene. I liked it. I thought the production was pitched it was sort of slightly over the top, but I quite like that. And I think John Moffat was a really good Holmes. Even Timothy West was nice. And I think I know Audrey Wood. She wasn't given much to do as the Van Helsing, but he did it good. He was quite effective, and I like the fact that Nicholas Courtney, he played it really well. He didn't play like a bumbling stereotype of Scotland Yard. He done it, I suppose. I think there's that thing what people in radio do where they say, this gun in my right hand is loaded syndrome sort of thing. Like, for example, where he said, Holmes, like, why are all those men gathered around that coffin? But I think it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and the time went quick. I mean, for an hour and a half, I was surprised when it ended. Almost sort of thing. I was like, oh, it's coming to the end. And I think Sherlock Holmes. He's one of my favourite characters from classic literature. And I think the author he made it so that we got an account of Dracula's visit to England that sort of ties in well with Bram Stoker's writings, and I like that Dracula I like the supernatural nature of Dracula in this. And even the audio reading with the sound effects in the background was really enjoyable. And their vocals were good and very believable. It's like a mashup, I suppose. I suppose it's like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which I also enjoyed.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Holmes, he's more involved in this than he would be in like War of the Worlds or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And it was pleasant to hear some of the moments of the sound wasn't 100%, but it was 1981. I mean, they done a good job. I mean, from what they were working with back then, because you couldn't, it's hard to distinguish distance and thing. And then, I had to some of it I had to turn the volume up a little bit, but it was great. It was the sanguinary count was really well done.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Lee.
Let's see. Yeah, I like the confrontation with Van Helsing and Holmes. Aubrey Wood's brilliantly cast, underused again, as Nicholas Courtney was. But his performance in this, just that, was it 5 minutes of Van Helsing and Holmes was brilliantly done. And also the confrontation with Count Dracula at Baker Street, where he appears knocking on the door, wanting to know why Holmes and Watson turned up at his house. He wasn't expecting that, really. The scene before that, what happened with Holmes and Watson at Dracula's home, with the where they discovered just half of the coffins, and then all these rats came running. That was so good. I mean, and you saw Holmes lose it then. He panicked as well. He ran. It's not often that Holmes, says, quick, let's get out of here. So that was a good scene there. the scene where there's the confrontation with the Count and Dr. Watson at the end, where he's got his wife, and he wants to know what him and Holmes, what Watson and Holmes, why do they work together? What does he see in him, and all this lot. Why do you stick up for him? And Dr. Watson's straightforward answer is he's my friend. It's just that there. I mean, must have dumbfounded the Count. But, he wanted to know the answer, and he gave him it, and he fled. So, great scene. But most of the scenes are well played out. I agree with what Craig said about some of the sound quality on this is up and down, but I'm sure there's a high definition remastered version somewhere of this. But we've got to take what we can find on social media. We're lucky that I found a few on YouTube, but
you're lucky you found a few on Geeks.
But yeah, I did like the characterization of the boatman. What's his name? Hold on, Ned Bridger. Who sort of gave his life when his boat exploded. Really well characterization of that character there by John Hollis. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. 90 minutes. It's a shame it was only a one-off. Well, I'm assuming it's a one-off.
Yeah.
So back to you, Susan.
Yeah, I really, I enjoyed it immensely. My favorite moments were of course, when Lestrade shows up, and then I also enjoyed the noble sacrifice of what's his name, Ned Barton at the end, and the sorry, not Ned Bridger, sorry, John Hollis, Ned Bridger. So I'm going to get these names wrong just because this was really my only time listening to it. And
she's still in awe of Nick Courtney.
I do get a little bit misty when I think of him. The challenge was to make this sound like Conan Doyle, and it did, and so that was really good. It gave Holmes a chance to be super deductive, super intellectual, and that's fun. That's always fun. It's one of the things that you enjoy about Holmes. I mean, 25, 30 years ago, I would have said, oh, it's just because he's such a drug addict and he's all hyped up on cocaine. And I was really into that part of Sherlock Holmes's life. Anytime they'd mention opium, cocaine, or anything, I'd be like, now it's like Nicholas Courtney comes on and I'm like,
it's Susan's
your priorities shift as you grow older. But anyway, it was a really cool play, and it did have decent sound quality. It wasn't rubbish. It wasn't like a fan production. It was properly done, and the story fit in. It kind of meshed in well with Conan Doyle and with Bram Stoker, and so yeah. What would you? Is there anything either of you two would like to Free.
Well, you've got to give a pat on the head for Toby the dog. You can't have a Sherlock Holmes story without Toby the dog.
Yeah.
You know, the sniffer dog. He did his job well.
He got a BAFTA.
Yeah, he got a woofter.
Yeah, woofter.
That's been said many a time.
I think this adventure. This was a really good adventure for an audio production, and even the sound effects, the music. It was quite the production, I would say.
I mean, you did at the beginning. You get the old violin, don't you, which Holmes is known for. So they had to mingle that into the music.
Yep.
I liked Sherlock's next the hint of his next adventure and the mention of Moriarty was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it was brilliant, actually.
All right. So what's your score out of 10 in your final say? Craig.
Well, I think John Moffat as Holmes, Timothy Wilson as West as Dr. Watson, Audrey Woods as Van Helsing, David March as Dracula. I would like to see Poirot versus Dracula. Elementary, my dear Watson. Oh, did I just get bitten by a bat?
Why don't you just go the full hog and do Columbo versus Dracula?
No, Columbo's an American.
Just one more thing.
Oh yeah, and apparently, he was trying to escape to the New World.
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
He was trying to get to Boston. In Boston,
Massachusetts.
Yep. So go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, forget about King Kong versus Godzilla. That's what I'm saying. I'll give it a 10. I liked it. It was great. It was very well written and well acted, and a really good cast and familiar voices. So yeah.
Yep.
Very daring for 1981 as well, because it's definitely not the norm. They definitely went a bit out there with this mashup.
Yeah.
Especially for the highbrow BBC. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't a torch mob outside saying it was satanic.
There might have been, you never know.
That was during Thatcher's Britain, though.
Oh no, it's not Eurotrash from the second.
Well, 81 was Thatcher's Britain.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right.
I was born in Thatcher's Britain.
Lee.
Explains a lot.
Oh, it's going to be it's so enjoyable. Great story. And I've said it many times before. Anything set in Victorian London, the foggy streets, the carriages, the cobbled streets, gets me every time. I just love that sort of eeriness. It's 10 boxed vampire virgins out of 10.
Huh. That's awesome. And I'll completely agree with the fellows here. Played well, thought out well, messed with both Conan Doyle and Bram Stoker, brought a lot of atmos to this. And Nicholas Courtney, of course, is Lestrade. I'll give it 10 Demeter schooners out of 10. And I would suggest that if you do end up with some perforations on your neck near your jugular vein, that perhaps you see a doctor, and Dr. Watson has some experience, or you can also go to Dr. Abraham Van Helsing. Either one should be able to nail it down, so to speak.
Or look in a mirror, because if you can't see yourself, then you might be a vampire.
And can I just say, I think Conan Doyle and Stoker would have loved this, because they were friends with each other. They collaborated on writing together and on things. And
They did.
oh yeah, and I would say they would have loved this.
So good. And so, as Craig suggested, get the graphic novel or the comic book, or jump on YouTube and find it, because just listening to it in this audio form is spectacular. And with that, we'll turn into a bat and depart. This weekend's being brought to you today by the vampiric culture of the globalist system. We have vampires that have traveled the whole world and are willing and able to interact with you this weekend with Geeks Assembled. Got True Blood coming up, and Moonlight coming up, two sort of more modern vampire stories, and then if Lee puts these out in different forms, just bebop around from one to the other.
What are you trying to say?
You're just trying to break it up so that what I have to say doesn't always go in a straight line.
Yeah. Do you think I do it on purpose?
I do think you do it on purpose. I think it's very, very purposeful on your part. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Makes me look.
Subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and also like, and please do give us comments about this. I mean, this one especially, you really should be all dug in with this particular story. It's so available. It's on YouTube 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
So amazing. Anyway, wow. And join us on social media. And if you'd like to join us, ask Lee or me or Greg. Just find us, and we'll get you involved. Thanks for watching, and have a scary Victorian evening.
Bye.